Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me for today's video. Today I'm going to be doing an intuitive analysis on what's going on with Nicki Minaj. The other morning I woke up and early in the morning she came to my mind and I was called to look at her beginning, like where she began as the character of Nicki Minaj and who she was then and who she is now and the disconnect. That stood out to me strongly. I just want to channel and see what's going to come through today. I know that there's a lot going on with her in the media, but I don't know too much about it. I just know that people don't seem to be understanding of what's happening with her right now or very happy with her. So let's go ahead and look into it. If you're looking for insight into your own situation, I do offer personal readings. The link to book with me is in the description, and I'm also going to pin it in the comments. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's see. I want to begin just looking at her overall energy right now, what's happening with her on the inside. Okay, so we have the Tower, we have the Seven of Wands, we have the Chariot. Okay, it's something about the Seven of Wands that really stands out strongly to me. I feel her feeling the need to take a defensive stance right now. So it's something standing out to me about her behavior or actions taken publicly right now is some type of act of defense, self-protection. What is she defending herself against? Queen of Cups, Five of Cups, Four of Pentacles. This definitely could have to do with a sense of a loss of power, loss of control, and this also could deal with resource. Because I feel that with the loss of control, loss of power, it's also affecting resources in some way. I also feel like there could be something about another woman. Let's see. Yeah, it's like she's masking something. So the actions taken, they don't feel integrated to me. They don't feel authentic. They don't feel clear. This reminds me of, I want to say grace. I feel like grace is coming through to me because the way I'm looking at it as is like sometimes people really don't know themselves why they're doing what they're doing. And her whole energy right now is coming through as like feeling defenseless to life, to circumstance. I do see that while she's showing up in the public with a certain bravado, it's not resonating. There's so much going on here. I think this may be a little bit of a long one. I'm okay with that. I also feel too, something was strongly standing out to me about her relationship to masculine energy and to men and to the father dynamic, because it was almost looking to me like a little girl or an innocent young girl that is always trying to put herself around positions of authority to protect her, to make her feel safe. And I almost see it like she wants to like be under the wing of people that she feels she can learn from. It feels very fatherly to me. It feels like definitely a broken relationship to masculine energy, because I feel her feeling very defenseless to masculine energy. I don't think she would even be perceiving it that way necessarily. Because to me, this is like such an unconscious thing that she's doing. She's looking for safety, looking for protection. So she's trying to put herself around men specifically that she feels can protect her or shelter her, teach her, inform her. It's more of a trauma response. And that's why I think I was brought to the origin of Nicki Minaj, the origin of this like firecracker of a personality, this confident young woman who's just like stumping her feet on the ground. That's definitely, to me, no longer feeling resonant with the Nicki Minaj that we know today. I think that that's pretty apparent, but I think that it's not as apparent as it should be to maybe even like her own fan base, to people like this makes me feel as if she got disconnected from herself in this journey very early on. Okay. So immediately what stands out to me is the Eight of Cups in the reverse. I feel like there's a lot of stagnant energy surrounding her in her life, in her environment, the people around her. There's a lot of stagnation. And I'm also getting a lot of burden. She's burdened with a lot of people's problems. And I really don't feel like she has the most supportive team of people around her. I feel like she has people around her that she can have a good time with, that she can fulfill certain needs of hers. But I really get a sense that there's not many people around her that are seeing her accurately, that are like really paying attention to her. It's almost coming through to me like a pattern in her life of being ignored, the deeper parts of her being ignored. This to me makes me feel like someone that feels like a puppet to other people's request, desires. This is such a powerless feeling that I see her in right now. So to me, that says whatever is happening publicly and how she's showing up publicly is more of a mask to what is going on in her personal life. And to me, I see her in a lot of pain, a lot of pain. And then I see her strategizing to try to solve her problems. So it's almost like not only is she burdened by so many people's problems around her, but I don't feel like there's that many people there to help her solve any of her own issues. Really, I kind of want to say no one, but I feel like it's not that she doesn't have people around her, that it's not like there's not people that don't love and care about her. I just feel that the level of quality of care is not that great. If I'm not mistaken, I believe she's a Virgo moon. And if that is true, I just wonder if she is really used to feeling unseen, unrecognized, because to me, that's what this is making me feel like. It almost brings me back to the thing that came up at the beginning and what sparked me to do this reading, and looking at the origin of Nicki Minaj and how she began, the origin of that story. I feel like there's parts of her that might be regretting it, like wishing it never happened. And the thing about it is, I feel like that's really contradictory to her image and what she's known for, because she's really known for trying to continue to remain in a certain position publicly, to continue to keep the title. So these feelings, these deeper feelings inside of not wanting it at all, not wanting the baggage that it comes with, I feel like it's really personal. It's her deeper feelings. And I also feel too, with everything she's been burdened with from other people's issues and how she's navigated her life, how she extends herself, her resources, her energy, I feel like it's put her in a lot of positions financially that are difficult. And she's strategizing, looking for ways and outlets to try to create some change. Like, I see her trying to fight against a lot of energy, which just tells me that the way her life has been designed up until this point, it's not working. It's no longer working. I feel like there's a lot of it that hasn't worked for a long time. It's something about who she was at the beginning. She's lost touch with that a long time ago. So the Nicki Minaj that we've been witnessing, I feel, is more her continuing the character, but I feel like there's something more deep and personal that she kind of lost touch with over time. I think that it could have a lot to do with her innocence. I feel that her innocence hasn't really been protected in her life. I want to say life. So to me, this is not only about her career and how she's been unprotected in the industry. This feels like the origin of her life. Strong lack of protection from people around her. And to me, I was getting this visual of her drawing to all these male figures, trying to gain the protection of male energy because you don't feel you have the security and protection. I feel that that could have a lot to do with how she's acting in the public now. The actions she's taking are more like a child who is lost than a woman who is clear on her choices and decisions and making them from a really conscious choice. So I know that there's a whole lot of judgment and criticism that she is facing and will continue to face. But to me, I get so much more vulnerability that I feel spirit wants to acknowledge. This is something she could be really upset about, really upset about. Even as I was trying to do this reading, I had a really hard time getting through it. I feel a lot of anger building up in my body and a lot of, it feels like trying to speak, not being able to or not being heard, like a lot of pointless talking and yelling and arguments. This is something that she could be going through in her personal life, trying to get her point across, but it's almost like nobody seems to know the real her, even her closest people around her. I think that there's some type of like emotional imbalance or nurturing that was not implemented for her, and it's a pattern that's just continued on with how she chooses people and who she surrounds herself with and how she shows up for others. Because to me, she's feeling very motherly and protective and loving and shielding over people she cares about, even people that to me I just feel are not worth her time and energy. Don't know them, don't know who it's about, but I just know that she has seemed to recreate painful stories in her life, unknowingly, unconsciously. And I see her in a place right now of not really like having an out. To me, this energy feels so heavy and overbearing. And honestly, it came to me a few days ago to do this reading, but I did another reading before it because I didn't feel I was ready to sit with the energy of this. And I think it's because to me, it's so triggering because when I'm sitting with how she's feeling, the energy surrounding her, it just feels like she feels very trapped. Like there's not that many options that feel accessible, and there should be, because she should be in a position where she should have more resource or option. I don't know if this is just how she's perceiving it, but I do feel for some reason it's also practical. Like she's gotten herself into some obligations or contracts or things that she can't sustain, and I feel it's partly due to her wanting to help others or extend things that she doesn't have. So I think that it's catching up to her right now, and she's feeling very powerless. I feel like I'm struggling to breathe. I feel like I have a lot of anxiety, and I feel too like I really don't want anyone to see. So to me, it would make sense why she may have a pattern of choosing people who don't really see her, because since she's not used to being seen in a loving way, I feel like she's dealt with a lot of criticism in her life, even her earlier years, her upbringing. There's a lot of sharpness around how she's expected to be. And I feel that it's like no one in her life seems to see to the heart of her, because it's like it was never there to begin with. There's something about this that feels very empty. And to me, it just makes me think of abandonment, or when a child just doesn't get what they need. There's something about imbalances and searching for things in the wrong places because of that. So I do not feel like how she's presenting is accurate to what's going on. Besides the fact that we see the spill out of her emotional dumps online, I think that it's reflective of this kind of energy. I just think that it's a lot more dark and messy than it can feel, because to me, I'm looking at it as like a viewer and a person that maybe has looked up to you in the past or respected you. This isn't me, right? I'm maybe feeling through the lens of someone else in the collective. Like I respected you, and the way you're acting is so demeaning or immature. People are looking at her, rightfully so, through the lens of like disgust or shame or blame. And I think that it makes it more difficult for her because of how defensive she can be in trying to stand 10 toes down even when she's wrong. And I think that that also goes to show like the people it around her, how she's built her support system in life, it's not helping her to elevate. But what I'm getting with that is that like who she's being is not who she really is. Okay. There's a lot of layers of just gunk and really confusing energy surrounding her. And to me, this feels very sad. There's a part of me, which just happens a lot. Like I get the empathy towards certain characters in these readings because I'm seeing their very human side. And I also feel it's cosmically aligned as well. I'm looking at the universe. I'm seeing the star here. I do feel she deserves a little more grace than she's able to receive right now due to her own behavior and how she's showing up. But it's like on a higher level, I do feel like God sees, God knows, God doesn't judge. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting. Like, I think that she will look back on a lot of these things and this feels so difficult. This feels so difficult. Why? Because I feel deep down she knows that she stepped away from her integrity. She knows that she stepped away from her integrity a long time ago. It doesn't feel new. So I'm going to look deeper into that, but I feel like she already is dealing with bubbling shame about her life behind the scenes, and that affects how she shows up in public with more bravado, trying to prove herself, trying to prove that she is more stable than she is. This feels very difficult. And what's really bothering me is that I feel she should have more support. I just don't feel like the doors are even open there. This could be she's not even seeking support, and that totally makes sense to me. So let's go ahead and look into a different energy. This is just the overall energy I see surrounding her right now. It feels very disorienting. It feels like a lot for a person to be moving through every day. So I think that I already know this confirmed through the overall energy, but I do want to look more into the question of, is the version of herself that she's showing to the public aligned with how she actually feels privately? Her views, let's see. 10 of Cups, 4 of Cups, 8 of Swords, the Sun, Princess of Swords. Like, this is absolutely someone else's ideas. I don't feel that, it's almost to me like she's being controlled, but I don't want to say that she's being controlled by someone that's like holding her up hostage. It's metaphorical, it's symbolic of something, and I feel like it's symbolic of a lot of things. So we're going to try to break it apart, because so far I've picked up on like financial obligations or things she's gotten herself into that are difficult, extending more than she has to extend, right? Then it's also something about the masculine energy and how she is feeling powerless to that, feeling controlled or ruled by this. So this is just confirmation that to me, I'm looking at her like a person that's very submissive to energies around her, very influenced. And it's contradictory to how we've known her to be, because again, she came through like this original, authentic, firecracker, and maybe not original in the sense that, because clearly like music is always inspired by things before, right? But there was an originality to her. There was something really special and unique. And when you look at a person like that, that's really confident and seems to know who they are and seems to know what they want and they're about it, you can sometimes have a hard time seeing them as a submissive person or someone that's easily controlled and manipulated. But to me, that's exactly what this feels like a person that appears very confident on the outside because they're very good with certain aspects of external confidence. Like they've been taught to value, to obtain certain things. You know, this could be being taught that as a woman, your aesthetics and your beauty are very important. So like family dynamics and things that she observed growing up, like, yes, that's true. However, her actual mentality, her development, her cognitive development is like very much stunted at a younger point and also heavily influenced by energies around her. I'm getting her like in this pool of energy just consuming her. And I almost feel like that's what she's used to. So this to me brings me back to how she grew up. Growing up in a situation where you feel kind of powerless to what's happening around you. So your ability to take a stand, take a stance, form your own opinions, it's kind of limited because whatever's happening around you, it's forcing you to build a narrative around life that's not your own, that you didn't choose. I almost feel that her career, as big of a blessing as it has been, has felt like a curse in some ways to her. This is making me very emotional. I don't in any way get a sense of like authenticity here. And I think that that's going to be coming up for her soon. Like I don't think she's going to be able to maintain whatever public bravado she's been maintaining for much longer. Like there could be something that happens that causes her to be in a position of standstill. Even if it means like you want to show up and do something and things happen to where you can't go make that thing and you were so fixed on it, you can't make that event. And life set it up that way because everything wants you to sit with where you are and to process it in a different way instead of running and masking. I do feel like that's coming up strongly for her right now. So we have judgment. When you have judgment, these are unavoidable wake-up calls. I mean, the thing about it is you can try to avoid it, but the wake-up call is the energy in your life. So you can pretend you don't see it, but it manifests within you and around you every single day. And the more you try to ignore it, it seems to bubble and get worse. So to me, it's definitely getting that she's just been coping with all of this. Like she hasn't been able to process it for years upon years. So of course there's a lot of trauma, a lot of coping, and a lot of finding relief in things that are not where she needs to be looking. This energy just feels very unfortunate to me because I feel that it's almost like she wasn't given the most fair chance. And what was so interesting to me too, right? Because when her energy came through to me that morning, I was like, okay, like I feel it, I'll do the reading. I'll do it. I don't know why, but what stood out to me was going back to her origin, and I think one of her first rap music videos I watched or something like that. She was very young and it's like she was just jumping off the porch. I really liked the video. I love the energy. It felt like the birth of a star. It felt very significant. And then also I got that song, I don't know the name of it, but it's basically talking about she came to win, to rise, to conquer, to fight, that song. And I feel like that's very symbolic to what she's going through right now. This is definitely more difficult than it seems. So it's like to an outsider, I looked at this card right now and it has the word, how do you say that? Satiate, when you're satiated, when you're content, right? But to me, I looked at it and it read to me as society. The world is going to be very hard on her because of the way everything's been built up. But I do really feel for her and worry for her on the core because this does not feel like a fair situation to me. It feels so unfair. That could be how she's feeling as well, like a victim. And I do feel in some ways she is. Like in some ways it does feel like she's a victim. And it's not like I'm trying to dismiss the fact that she's an adult woman. But when you're looking at all these dynamics and these energies and you see the struggle, you see the stagnation that people find themselves in, and you're reminded that no matter who someone is and the status and the successes that they have, that they're just human. And that just like you hear cases all the time of people in your neighborhood or your family or surrounding people, like they go through domestic happenings at their home, relationship breakdowns, financial issues, like these celebrities are not separate from it. That's just reminding me of that for some reason. So I feel that she's really going through a dark night of the soul moment. Seven of Cups came out. So that to me, I feel she could really use spiritual support right now. And I will definitely hold her in that loving space, regardless of where she is making mistakes right now. Because to me, this definitely feels like a woman that has just like lost her way, but also just not been properly supported. And I feel like she's been very supported as far as endorsements and people wanting to use her in the reality of what she's been doing and the character of Nicki Minaj. People have been using her more than genuinely caring. So even though that's the business of it, it still feels so inhumane. And I see a part of her that is wanting to like fight for justice. The issue with it is I do feel like it's bigger than that at this point. I don't feel like she is going to be able to get an easy resolution by trying to blame someone else. This feels like one of those situations for many of us. I go through these types of feelings where I'm healing things and I'm processing it and I'm like angry that I even have to process it. Like, why have I spent this many years of my life having to heal things that I didn't ask to be brought into? It's that type of feeling of like, it's hard to even face these things because it all just feels so unfair. Like you never asked for it. And the thing that this makes me think about is it's not just her career. This is her whole life story. This makes me feel like on a soul level, she knew she was here to do something massive. I feel some of the pains that the journey has come with, she has not felt prepared or equipped to deal with. And I feel so genuinely sad for her. It makes me feel so sad because she wants to stay in what's comfortable to her. Because it's like, it feels like that's all she has. She'd rather stay in the familiar, excuse me for my language, I don't know how else to say it besides crap, the crappy reality, than to start anew. That feels so scary for her. When I tap into her, I feel a little girl, which tells me that there's parts of her that are stunted there, that are still in shock, that are still afraid, that still feel powerless to things outside of her. Scary men, like, and it's so weird that she finds herself drawing to men to protect her, but at the same time, I feel she doesn't feel safe or protected. So it's seeking for the protection, trying to find it in these ways, but it's not there anyway. It's an illusion. It's like so many things in her life feel illusionary. They don't feel real. I feel like at times she doesn't feel real. She feels very dissociated. Like, I don't know who I am. I feel so lost. Like, this feels so foggy to me. It feels so foggy and disoriented. And I just feel for her too, like substances is only going to make this worse. So I pray that she's able to navigate away from unhealthy sources of trying to navigate these waters. Because with the Seven of Cups, it also talks about alcohol and substances. And it's not only like substances, but things we use to navigate through these confusions. It's like there's all these options, and sometimes we don't choose the healthier option. We choose the most familiar option. We choose the most available option. So to me, it's like, yes, she could have gotten therapy for some of these things years ago, but that doesn't feel like a normal to her, like culturally. And then it's also a part of her that could feel like she doesn't need these things. She shouldn't need these things. Like, she's Nicki Minaj. So it's a bit of like the ego thing of who she feels she needs to be. She could also really struggle with vulnerability because once again, it's like there was no foundation for that growing up. So yes, to people in the world, she could really be looking like this bitter woman, this crazy woman. It's like, who is she? Like, what's she doing? It's so confusing. But on the inside, well, she is bitter. And it's coming out in all the wrong ways because it has to spill out somewhere, and I don't feel she knows where to trace it back to. Like it's definitely giving that misdirected anger. Like I just don't know. I don't know where to trace these things back to. It feels so much bigger than her. And I definitely feel it's everything about her life up until this point. I feel that in a lot of ways she has felt dragged along by things bigger than her. That's how I can put it. Okay, like circumstantially, the Ace of Wands to me is also just her life path, how it unfolded, okay? The journey to stardom. She to me is coming through as a really courageous soul, really brave, really innocent. I think that her innocence is definitely something that's not been protected in this whole journey for her. And she knows that, she feels that. And there's a part of her that wants justice for that. And it definitely comes out in how she tries to claim her spot, her stance. It's just misdirected energy. It's misdirected. And it doesn't feel malicious to me. She does not feel in this reading like a malicious person. However, though, I will say this. The way I read her energy already and can see how much she struggles with processing emotion, she definitely feels like a person that is willing to ride on her feelings. So she's not malicious, but she can be impulsive, emotionally charged, and just erratic. I definitely, again, I'm getting like cognitive stunting or emotional and cognitive stunting. So she's not malicious, but she's very immature because there's a lot of underdeveloped spaces within her brain, within her mind. This is very deep. It's very neurological. It's not just a person that's waking up and choosing to be a menace, okay? It's not that simple. And I really feel this strong sense that she is at a place with higher, like, authority. Her relationship with God is challenged right now because she, to me, is just feeling like all that was promised to me. This doesn't feel like all that was promised to me. Yes, she can have a lot of blessings in her life, but the way things feel is just so out of alignment. All right, I am curious about moving forward in her career. Is she looking to double down on the path that she's been on of this communicator, this person that's more involved with politics, or is she looking to move toward a more reinventive path creatively? I want to see. Or maybe neither. Let's see just where is she looking to go within her career? Because I do want to be open. She could go a completely different route. It's definitely giving to me that she wants to do some type of creative redesign. So I am getting a lot of creative energy around her career path moving forward. I do feel like there's still more to be seen from her creatively, but also it's standing out to me that there's the desire within her to have more creative expression or to have like a creative renewal in her career. I just see contracts with the Justice card here, contracts that she has with people or structural contracts with organizations, things like that. That could be affecting her ability to create something about that. So it's looking to me like we're going to hear more about these projects. It's almost like I don't know if we're ever going to get the complete project. So standing out to me like it's definitely not the last that we will hear from her creatively, but I will say it looks like moving forward, her career path is no longer going to be dominated by her creativity. And I feel like that's so unfortunate, but it also feels like a natural cycle of life. It's something about a completion an era of completion that's already taken place in her career. So I think that, excuse me, my throat is really dry and I've been drinking water and it's just not helping me. But there's definitely so much more that she wants to say. I don't feel like she doesn't want this ending of a chapter or an era in her career. I just feel there's so many things she wishes would have went differently. So once again, it's bringing me back to this whole thing of feeling puppeted around by other people's orders or requests or things that you oblige yourself to. Is that how you say that? Like things that you agree to that you really can't uphold. There's something about that. So I do feel it's bringing me right back to the beginning of the reading with her origin story and how she began. It feels like there's a completion of that chapter. Like, sometimes people go through a lot in their career, but they're able to spark a reinvention of it, and that will dominate any gaps within their career where they weren't, I guess, like being dominant in their field anymore, or where they weren't really putting out or creating. There's new projects that come out and it just takes over and it covers up the past. I just feel like that's not what's going to happen here. It definitely feels to me that it's about bigger cycles in her life. So I don't feel like it's the last that we're going to be getting from Nicki Minaj creatively, but I do feel like her path is taking a big turn. I do wonder what her transits are looking like right now. This feels very Saturn to me. And not like a Saturn return, but it almost reminds me of like Saturn coming back to remind her like these important lessons that she's supposed to be gaining along her journey. I feel like there's a lot that's catching up to her right now at this time and moving forward in her career. All that's catching up to her is affecting the name and reputation around her. And I don't see things reverting back to what they were. But I do feel like there could be some things that come up that she communicates, that she expresses, that could change public perception on her in a bit of a positive way in the future. Doesn't feel like it's soon though, because it's like right now she's really caught up in a lot of heavy energy. Again, it's like as I'm sitting with this reading, it feels like everywhere I turn in my life, every direction that I turn my head, there's something sitting right there that needs fixing or helping or acknowledging. And okay, it's not giving me the most inspiring unfolding of her career moving forward. But what I feel around it, like cosmically, I feel like it's because if she were to continue moving forward as how people have always known her to be, or come out with some project that just changes the reputation for her, puts her back on top, it would take away from the spiritual growth that I feel like she is needing right now, the evolving of her life path, her life quality. Because again, in these energies, I'm sensing someone who rightfully deserves and should have great support and great recognition from those around her and good backing, but she doesn't. It's like all the things should be in place, but they're not. And I feel like it has a lot to do with her early foundation to life and how it's caused her to search and seek for energies and where she looks for them and how she looks for fulfillment. And she cannot continue to go that path. So to me, this once again brings me back to the judgment card, the wake up call, the unavoidable path forward of needing to rectify all of these unaddressed issues. So I almost feel that her name as an important person will never change for the public. However, I do get a sense that all of the changes that have happened in recent years around her reputation are going to be long lasting. They have long lasting effects. So now I want to see What role are the people closest to Nicki Minaj playing in her current life direction? Seven of Swords, Three of Wands, Ace of Swords, the Judgment, the Four of Cups, Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so when I sit with the energy of the people in her life and the role that they're playing in her life direction right now, immediately I'm being brought to the word complacency. I also feel enabling, but it also makes me think of people who would encourage you to keep going, even though maybe it's in your best interest to stop. It just gives me a lot of egging her on. I feel like she has a lot of people around her who, to me, I'm getting it. It's like they see her more like a character than a human. I really dislike the way it makes me feel, but again, once again, I'm being brought back to this whole thing about her humanness, her inner nature. I feel like the people around her are playing a role in her life that they are helping her to be numb from what she needs to do. It's like, to me, she is unconsciously drawing to these people that will keep her away from her inner emotions. So, like, they don't see her clearly. She doesn't have to see herself that clearly. It allows her to remain in a certain familiarity. So, a lot of complacency. We got the Four Cups again. Just gives me that same stagnant energy. I see her being a bit too comfortable in a certain way of being, a certain way of life. And the people around her are just kind of helping her to sink into that more. And then I'm being brought to the crocodile, which to me just feels potentially harmful. Like when something should be good for you, but it's not. You know, the people that you have around you should be able to see what you really need, try to encourage you to take care of things in a healthy way, try to encourage you to get some help, right? But there's just something about that where it's almost like she's feeding herself to the lions, but unintentionally, because she's choosing people that they leave her like stranded or abandoned to figure things out on her own. They have these expectations of her that are so great. And I feel like she's taken on to that a lot. Like she has taken a lot of pride in what she's able to do and how she's able to show up and what she's able to offer, like who she is, her authority. But if, unfortunately, I feel like this has caused her to attract a lot of user energy. We have the Six of Pentacles, and I just see her looking to give a lot more than she receives. And why does it feel to me like whatever she does receive, it's almost to me still like she's having to ask for things that she shouldn't have to ask for, instead of being paid attention to and noticed and catered to in certain ways. So much of her energy has felt masculine driven over her life, over her career. And she's taken on to that very well. Like she can hold space for that consistent, reliable, hardworking, masculine driven energy. But I think the issue is that it's a lot about emotions. Seven of Cups. And because emotions are overwhelming, the means that she's finding to express that, to try to help that or fix that, they just are not, they keep bringing her back to the same place. It's making me think, right here, I see this very small pond or like body of water, and that's making me think of when you continue to get information from the same sources of people around you. Like your world is not expanded into the right spaces. And it should be, you would think that it is, or that it could be, because someone with such a position of authority and so much access to resource, etc., there should be, you know, a better alignment. But to me, this is giving, it's not about her success or her career. It's about her inner emotional world and how she designed her life around that. Once again, being brought to this whole thing of, you know, example, like storytelling is what I'm getting. So just being shown like having access to resource doesn't mean that you're going to use the resource wisely. And I think that there's something within what's happening for her. There's a message in it about humanity, like the humanity of a person. Something really symbolic about what's happening in her life right now and how that is being played out in the collective storyline. It definitely feels like there's some example behind what's happening to her and how it's able to influence, meant to influence. Ace of Cups. So yes, like what's happening with her is meant to help to create emotional shift for people, whether that's people who've loved her dearly, Six of Pentacles, people who've admired her. There's something about realizing that it just makes me think like even a shrink needs a shrink type of thing. Like even a confident person needs someone to um lead them sometimes. It's like whatever message people are getting from what's happening to her, it definitely feels like a humbling and grounding thing. It feels like something that people are able to interpret and digest and take bits of information for themselves to help them on their path of navigating the material world while still balancing a healthy emotional world and like knowing what's best for yourself. There's a lot of information in her story is what I'm getting. So like looking back through the timeline of everything. And one thing for sure is that I feel like as long as she's alive, she'll always have a lot of genuine love from supporters. Like there are those who just resonate with her beyond her bad choices or beyond her imperfections. I think that is beautiful. I do feel like while the foundation of her success is changing and the position of authority that she's been in, like that shifting, I don't feel that support is all lost for her. I just feel there's a huge shakeup happening right now, and I don't see her returning back to the level of being on top that she once was. So I want to look into a couple more things before I go. I want to know what karmic or spiritual lessons that she might be moving through during this period of her life. Nine of Swords, Ten of Swords, Queen of Cups in the reverse. I actually feel like this has a lot to do with taking her power back. Recognizing the areas where she has been mishandled, but also not being a victim to these circumstances. It's a lot about everything trying to bring her into a quiet space of just deeply connecting with her feelings. And I'm hearing for once, like just deeply connecting for once. To me, I'm being shown that throughout her life, she's taken moments to process and digest. But for me, it almost seems like they're not long, they're not long or spacious periods of time. It's like even if she wasn't active or working for a period of time, even while she's just doing her day-to-day life, she's not processing all these emotions. And I feel that everything right now is trying to bring her to that place of like a standstill. It feels like a defeat. I don't feel that that's what the intention of the energy is, but it can feel that way. And it can bring you to a point of when you are on your knees a bit and you're just like, I don't know what to do. You feel overwhelmed. Yes, it's trying to bring her there, but for the sake of healing. And I think what's happening is that the higher order of things is trying to reveal to her the inconsistencies, the inaccuracies in her perspective. Like the fact that she actually is going wrong somewhere. Because I think that for her point of view right now, she's able to justify or she's unable to see clearly where her perspectives go wrong. She's really struggling between where she's a victim, where she actually has more power than she thinks. It's like she struggles to know how to hold other people accountable, how to hold herself accountable, boundaries. There's something about the lines between her and others that are like almost non-existent. I've seen that a lot throughout this reading. But I feel like everything's bringing her to a place of standstill or seeming defeat to accept the fact that there has to be not only a change, because I think she's known that for a while, but a different approach, a different strategy, something done through her working with higher. For one, when I'm getting higher, I'm getting this in a couple ways. So higher energy as in trusting in a plan, in God's plan that's bigger than hers, not just trying to use her logic to overcome all these situations in her life, but to really sit down and get to the meat of what she needs to do. It's deep and personal. I don't feel like any of us have these answers for her, but it's more about getting her to that place where she's ready to analyze things differently, stop doing the same thing, expecting a different result, approach it differently. I do feel like this could be about getting help, getting some type of support or therapy. So that's also the higher energy that I'm getting, like a professional, someone with training, someone with knowledge about what she's going through. If it's not therapy, it's definitely something about listening to others, hearing a perspective other than her own, which I feel like she struggled with for a while. Okay. Any other confirmation about the path ahead and where it's going? Okay. Yeah. I feel like everything's trying to bring her back to a more simple life, actually. To reconnect her with her roots, the things that root her and ground her, the roots, the origin. It's so interesting that I'm being brought back to that, because that's how it started for me, being brought back to her origin. Everything's trying to bring her back to the beginning, the birthplace of this story of her life. Is trying to get her back to the heart, because along the way she's carried a lot, she's burdened a lot, she's lost a lot, and she's numbed and suppressed a lot. And I feel like everything at this point just wants to kind of begin to equalize itself, and for her to see it as the reality that it is and begin to rebuild her life moving forward. So this feels like her life needs a reconstruction. It's not just like, oh, I can make this one simple change. It's more about the quality of life, the lifestyle, the habits. It's a lot, okay? Which is so human, right? We all go through these things where we get to points and we're like, this isn't working. How I'm spending my time every day, it's not working. I'm not thriving. This just feels really heavy and intense, because it feels like everything built up over her lifetime and over her career specifically, like the stress of being Nicki Minaj. And to me, I'm hearing her say, like, it feels like I've always had to be a character. Like before she became who she is today, she was always feeling burdened by someone else's emotions, feeling like she had to be stronger than she should have had to be. She had to mature really quickly. She had to carry a lot of burden on her back at a young age. And part of her, like, just took it on the chin, took it as like, this is making me stronger. But I think it just neglects the fact that deep down inside, this was a lot for her to carry. So much burden. Like, I just keep seeing a little girl that has to defend herself, protect herself, because no one's doing it for her. And then it's like, when there are protective people that come around, maybe they're not there at the right time. People come to support her after she's gone through trauma, and now it's just like, it seems like so many important things in life she's had to go through alone. She doesn't know who to trust anymore. She doesn't have the most clarity around what's good for her, what's actually good for her and what's not. So for those wondering, is this public expression just the truth of who she's always been? I don't think so. I think it's just the truth of what she's been dealing with underneath the surface, and the truth of the fact that when humans don't healthily process their emotions and the realities of their day-to-day life and what needs changing, it's going to spill out, no matter who you are or what you have access to. None of us are immune, and that keeps standing out, and that feels like a very good thing. I feel like it's not a saying like, oh, these celebrities are just like everyone else, trying to, like, it's not a shame thing. It feels like universal energy saying, look at how human we all are, like we're all in this together type thing. I wish she could feel that. I don't think she feels that. I think because of the position that she's used to being in, these expectations that she has for herself, it's difficult for her to truly feel like she has the space to be human. Okay. Like I picked up on from young, a lot of pressure on her, a lot of expectation. And I just think that the universe wants a change for her. Everything wants a change for her to actually live, for her to begin to heal, to begin to think about her ideal storyline. Because I think that certain things she's wanted for herself have been based on things she was told to want, things she was shown that she should want, but they are not bringing her happiness or fulfillment. So it's really about bringing her to a point of accepting that she's not happy, accepting things as they are, no longer trying to okay them, right? Like to pretend that it's okay. Through that, though, I feel like it's a great opportunity for her to rebuild her life. She might have to let go of a lot, though. Yep. Eight of Cups, Five of Swords. Yep. Like she might have to, the Hermit. Yep. She might have to let go of certain possessions. She might have to be willing to take a different route. I don't know how willing she would be, especially looking at how things have been for her, the energy that she's in. But that's what I'm seeing would have to happen for the best outcome. Like there's a way to change her life dramatically and make it work better for her, but it would have to be dramatic. It would have to be being willing to feel uncomfortable for a while to get back to the heart of something important to her. I do feel like in the long term, she's going to get there. I think that it could happen sooner, but unfortunately, she has a lot of blockages in her way right now, a lot of confusion in her energy and just resistance to the path. Okay, so I do feel like energies are trying to get her to shift her perspective a bit. And I feel like that's by putting her in really uncomfortable circumstances in this physical world that challenge her emotionally. Like she could feel a bit attacked by the circumstances, but it's really about trying to redirect her. So anyway, gonna leave it there. This energy's been so weird, so I'm gonna go shake this off. Thank you for listening. And if you have any video ideas or questions, you can leave them down below. I'll see you guys in a future video.